Caleb Turner had driven that long country road thousands of times, and nothing about it ever surprised him. It was a quiet stretch of land, empty except for miles of open fields, wooden fences, and the slow rise of hills in the distance. Most evenings, the road felt peaceful, but on this particular day, something in the air felt different. The sky was darker than usual. Even though the sun had not fully set, thick clouds were gathering, rolling together like a warning. Caleb was heading home from checking the cattle on the far side of his ranch. His old pickup truck rattled a little more than he liked, but it was loyal and steady, much like him. He had grown used to the quiet, used to the rhythm of ranch life. The only sound inside the truck came from the radio, which crackled softly between stations. The storm must have been affecting the signal, because the music faded in and out, leaving long moments of silence. Caleb wasn't in a hurry. He never was. He took his time on the road, always watching for stray animals or fallen branches that might have blown in during the day. But as he drove, something ahead caught his attention. A faint shape. A movement. A figure. He leaned forward, squinting through the windshield. At first, he thought it was just a shadow, maybe a tree branch twisting in the wind. But as he got closer, he realized it wasn't a shadow at all. It was a person. A woman. And she wasn't just standing there. She was waving her arms in wide, frantic motions, as if trying to flag someone down. Caleb slowed the truck immediately. His heart gave a small jump, the kind he felt only when something truly unexpected happened. People almost never stood out here on this road, especially not at dusk. As he approached, the woman came into clearer view. She looked terrified. Her clothes were dusty. Her hair was messy from the wind. And even from a distance, Caleb could see the tears on her face. Her hands shook as she waved. Caleb rolled down his window even before the truck came to a stop. The woman ran straight to him, her voice trembling so hard it barely came out as words. "I'm begging you. Hurry!" she cried. The fear in her voice hit Caleb deeper than anything she said. He opened the door immediately and stepped out. "Ma'am, slow down," he said gently. "Tell me what's wrong." She pointed behind her, toward the ditch on the right side of the road. Caleb followed her gaze and saw a car lying at an angle. Two wheels lifted off the ground, as if it had slid halfway into the slope. The front bumper was bent, and dust rose faintly around it. "My brother is in the car," she said, her breath uneven. "He's stuck. I tried to pull him out, but I can't. Please help him." Caleb didn't waste a second. He grabbed his flashlight from inside the truck, clicked it on, and ran toward the car with the woman right behind him. The ground was soft from earlier rain, and the grass brushed against their boots as they hurried down the slope. The closer they got, the clearer the situation became. The car wasn't badly crushed, but it had slid off the road with enough force to trap the passenger door against the dirt. The window was fogged from the inside, and through it, Caleb could see a young man slumped over the seat. "What's his name?" Caleb asked. "Ethan," the woman whispered. "He's my younger brother." "All right," Caleb said, kneeling beside the car. "Emily, right?" She nodded quickly, surprised he had remembered the name she barely managed to say earlier. "Okay, Emily. I'm going to try to open the door. Stay right behind me, but don't get too close in case the door moves fast." Emily bit her lip and wrapped her arms around herself, nodding. Caleb tried the handle, but it didn't budge. The door was firmly pinned by the dirt. He took a breath, then tried again, this time pushing with his shoulder. Nothing. The frame was slightly bent, making it even harder to open. Inside the car, Ethan shifted a little, letting out a soft groan. Emily gasped. "He's moving." "Ethan, can you hear me?" she called through the window. Ethan didn't answer clearly, but Caleb could tell he wasn't completely unconscious. That was good. It meant he had a chance of getting him out without needing special equipment. "We'll get him," Caleb said, keeping his voice steady. "But I'll need to move fast." The storm clouds above them rumbled lightly, a long, low sound that spread across the sky. The wind picked up, carrying a cooler, sharper edge. Emily looked up nervously. Is the storm going to hit soon? Looks like it, Caleb said. And we don't want to be out here when it does. He walked around to the other side of the car and tried that door. It opened a few inches, just enough. He pushed the seat back, creating a little more space. Then he shined the flashlight on Ethan's legs to make sure nothing was trapped. Ethan, Caleb said loudly but calmly. I'm going to help you out. Can you hear me? Ethan made a small sound, weak, but responsive. That's good, Caleb said. Try to relax. I'm going to lift you from this side, Caleb said. Emily watched anxiously, wringing her hands. She kept trying to talk to her brother through the window, hoping her voice would keep him awake. Caleb reached inside, moving slowly and carefully, making sure not to twist Ethan's body the wrong way. He supported his shoulders first, then slid his arm under his back. Ethan winced but didn't resist. Easy now, Caleb murmured. You're doing great. It took a moment to get Ethan into a position where he could be pulled through the partially open door. Caleb could feel Emily's breath catching behind him with every small move. He knew she must have been imagining the worst, but he kept himself focused. He had helped injured animals before. This wasn't the same, of course. But it taught him patience and steadiness. Slowly, carefully, he lifted Ethan out of the car and guided him into his arms. Ethan was groggy, but breathing steadily. Caleb carried him a few steps away from the car and laid him gently on the soft grass. Emily immediately knelt beside her brother, brushing hair away from his forehead. You're okay, she said softly. You're going to be okay. Caleb checked Ethan's breathing, his pulse, and his reactions. The young man was tired and shaken, but nothing seemed dangerously wrong. We need to get him warm, Caleb said. And out of this ditch, before the storm gets worse. Emily nodded quickly, tears of relief falling freely now. Caleb helped her support Ethan as they slowly guided him up the slope toward the truck. The wind was growing stronger, blowing strands of Emily's hair across her face. She kept glancing back at the car, as if still processing everything that had happened. By the time they reached the truck, the sky had darkened even more. Caleb opened the passenger door and helped Ethan sit inside, leaning him gently against the seat. Emily stayed right beside him, holding his hand. Caleb stepped back for a moment, catching his breath. He looked at the sky, then at the road, then at the siblings in his truck. He had stopped because he knew it was the right thing to do, but he hadn't expected the night to take such a dramatic turn. Emily looked up at him with grateful eyes. Thank you, she whispered. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't come. Caleb shook his head modestly. Anyone would have stopped, but Emily knew the truth, not everyone did. And as the first drops of rain began to fall, tapping softly against the roof of the truck, Caleb realized this evening was far from over. Something told him that helping them was only the beginning. The rain began slowly, just a few drops tapping against the truck window. But it was enough for Caleb to know the storm would get stronger soon. Out here in the countryside, storms could turn the roads into slippery rivers of mud. When he looked at the sky again, he saw a long streak of lightning far in the distance, silent but bright. He knew they needed shelter fast. Ethan let out a soft sigh, leaning his head back against the seat. Emily sat beside him, holding his hand as if afraid to let go. She kept brushing his hair away from his forehead, whispering comforting words every few minutes. Even though he still looked tired and dazed, his breathing was steady, which made her relax just a little. Caleb closed the passenger door gently and walked around to the driver's side. He climbed in, turned on the headlights, and let the warm glow fill the inside of the truck. The rain had already picked up speed, tapping harder now. We'll try the main road, Caleb said. But if it's washed out, we'll have to stop by the ranch. It's closer than the hospital. Emily looked worried for a second. Is that safe? It's the safest option right now, Caleb said calmly. The ranch is warm, dry, and I have supplies. We can take care of Ethan until the storm slows down. Emily nodded slowly, trusting him. She had trusted him from the moment he stepped out of his truck. Though she didn't understand why, something about his voice, His steady movements, and the calm way he handled things made her feel safe. And right now, safety was all she wanted. Caleb started driving. The truck moved forward steadily, its tires crunching over the wet road. The windshield wipers swiped back and forth, trying their best to keep the view clear. Everything around them looked gray, soft, and blurred. The storm was truly settling in. A few minutes into the drive, the truck hit a shallow pool of water splashing softly under the tires. Caleb slowed down even more. The road ahead was starting to disappear under rising water. "Looks like the storm reached here before we did," he muttered. Emily leaned forward slightly. "Can we make it through?" Caleb tried for another 50 yards, watching carefully. But the water grew deeper, and the road turned uneven. Large puddles formed, blending together into one long stream. "We won't get far this way," he said finally, turning the wheel gently. "We're going to the ranch." Emily didn't argue. Ethan stirred beside her, lifting his head slightly as the truck turned onto a smaller dirt road. Caleb drove slowly but confidently, knowing this land well. The dirt road was rough with rocks and dips, but he navigated around them carefully. As they continued, the rain became heavier. The sound grew louder, pounding against the roof in steady waves. The wind blew from the side, shaking the truck just enough to remind them how strong the storm was becoming. After several minutes, the warm glow of lights appeared in the distance. The ranch house. It was simple, with a wide porch, wooden beams, and soft yellow light shining through the windows. Caleb exhaled quietly, relieved. "We're here," he said. Emily felt a rush of calm wash over her at the sight of the house. It looked safe, quiet, and welcoming, like a place built to protect people from nights like this. Caleb parked near the porch and got out quickly, opening an umbrella from the side of the truck. He walked to Emily's door first. "I'll help Ethan inside," he said. Emily nodded and carefully slid out of the truck. The wind tugged at her hair, and the rain soaked the ends of her sleeves, but she barely noticed. She was focused completely on her brother. Caleb helped Ethan out of the truck, placing one of Ethan's arms around his shoulder for support. Emily stayed close, steadying him on the other side. Together, they guided him up the steps and into the warm glow of the ranch house. Inside, the air was soft and comforting. The living room held a stone fireplace, wooden shelves filled with books, and a thick rug that felt warm under their feet. The space smelled faintly of pine wood, something familiar and calming. "Sit him here," Caleb said, guiding Ethan to a long couch. Ethan sank into the cushions with a tired sigh. Emily knelt beside him again, gently touching his arm. Caleb fetched a warm blanket, placing it over Ethan. Then he went to a small cabinet and pulled out a first aid kit. "You know how to do all this?" Emily asked, surprised. Caleb gave a small shrug. "I took medical training years ago. It comes in handy on a ranch. You never know when someone will need help." Emily felt a wave of gratitude rise in her chest. She watched as Caleb checked Ethan's temperature, his breathing, and the way he moved his shoulder. He spoke softly to Ethan, encouraging him, making sure he was still alert. Ethan managed a small smile. "Thanks for helping me," he whispered. Caleb nodded gently. "You're doing well. You just need some rest." While Caleb prepared a warm drink for Ethan, Emily stood near the window, watching the storm pour down. Sheets of rain slid along the glass, blurring everything outside. Thunder rolled in the distance, deep and long. She wrapped her arms around herself and took a slow breath. Everything had happened so quickly. One moment she had been driving with her brother, and the next she was running along a dark highway, praying someone would stop. She glanced back at Caleb, who was stirring the drink with slow, thoughtful movements. He didn't look like someone who often got involved in strangers' emergencies. He looked like someone who lived a quiet life, someone who liked things simple, and yet here he was, opening his home, his time, and his skills to people he had met only an hour ago. When Caleb returned to Ethan with the drink, Emily offered a grateful smile. "You didn't have to do all this," she said softly. Caleb shook his head. "I couldn't just leave you two out there." "But most people would have just driven past," Emily added, her voice trailing off. Caleb paused for a moment, thinking. Then he said quietly, "When someone needs help, you help them. That's how I was raised." Emily felt tears prick her eyes again. Not from fear this time, but from relief. The storm outside grew even louder, the wind pressing against the house. But inside, everything felt steady. Ethan slowly sipped the warm drink, his eyelids drooping as the comfort settled into him. Caleb brought out dry towels and handed one to Emily. She dried her hair, grateful for the warmth. He also gave Ethan a soft pillow to rest on, adjusting it carefully. "Do you think he'll be okay?" Emily asked. "I think he just needs rest," Caleb answered. He was shaken, but nothing seemed seriously wrong. "When the storm passes, we'll call for help or head to town." Emily nodded, feeling lighter than she had in hours. Time passed gently. Caleb added wood to the fireplace, letting the flames brighten the room. The crackling sound filled the space, mixing with the steady rhythm of the rain outside. Emily sat on a chair near Ethan, watching her brother breathe peacefully, his face finally relaxed. Caleb sat across the room, giving them space but remaining close enough in case they needed anything. After a while, Emily spoke softly. "I wouldn't have known what to do without you." Caleb looked up. "You did everything you could. You got help. That's what matters." Emily smiled, a soft, tired smile. She realized how much calmer she felt now. The fear she'd carried for so long had slowly melted away in the warmth of the ranch house. Ethan stirred slightly, then settled again. Emily looked back at Caleb, her voice gentle. "You changed everything tonight." Caleb gave a small, almost shy smile. "I just did what anyone should do." But Emily knew better. She knew that not everyone would have stopped, not everyone would have helped, and certainly not everyone would have brought strangers into their home during a storm. She watched him for a moment longer, grateful beyond words. Outside, the storm continued. But inside the ranch house, the night felt peaceful, safe, warm. Emily realized she would remember this night for the rest of her life. The night a rancher she had never met picked her up on a lonely road, helped her brother, and did something she never expected. He cared. And sometimes, she thought, that kind of kindness is the most life-changing kind of all.